Welcome to Sip and Tip. I'm MJ.
And I'm Zanae.
Today we are going to talk about
survival techniques.
Dum dum dum. Yes, survival techniques. So we all have survival techniques. For lack of better words, they're coping mechanisms for good or bad. We use them to get through situations, through life, through predicaments, through a lot of things. And sometimes we have to reevaluate them to see how productive they are in our current lives.
Right. So let's go over a few of the survival techniques that we've had to use growing up over the years, and then we'll get to how we are supposed to reevaluate them.
And how we did reevaluate them.
Yes.
Do you want to start?
All right.
She's older, right? She should start.
Well, for me, my survival technique was always to be quiet. I felt if I was quiet, then they wouldn't see me. I wouldn't get a spanking. I wouldn't get in trouble if they couldn't see me. And it was one of those things I always did what I was supposed to do first. And then just be quiet. It didn't always work. But if it wasn't quietness, I'd leave. I'm an isolation individual. I mean, if I can't talk to you and get along with you, then it's time to leave. There's not too many. Honestly, growing up, I don't think that I had the tools to really get through certain things. So for me, to hide and to shut down was my best way to handle things.
I was the opposite. I met everything with aggression because that is what got me through. And so that evolved, and that's no longer such. Now I don't meet things with aggression because that no longer works, one. And two, it's no longer needed. Like, I'm not in the predicaments that I was in back in the day, so I don't need the aggression. I'm able to communicate and talk through a lot more than I was then. So I don't need the aggression.
Yeah. See, if I can't talk to you, again, I just gotta walk away. Oh, take that back. I used to write letters.
Yeah.
That was something that I felt if I couldn't use my words to say it to you, then maybe if you read it, you'd understand it better. And sometimes that helped. Sometimes. Helped with her.
Yeah, it did. It did. I think timing helped too.
Yes.
But yes, I think the survival techniques that we learn, it really gets us through those moments and gets us to another point. But there's a point in time where you need different survival techniques, or you need to just cancel them out.
Right. So, because you're no longer unsafe.
Right. And that's what I was about to get to. So for me, at one point, I couldn't trust the people that were in my surroundings. And so with that being said, I learned how not to trust and to challenge and to have people test into certain, levels of awareness with me, if you will.
And it's funny because I think skepticism it's a good survival technique because you learn new things being skeptical.
Right. I use it differently, and I think that's the key.
Right.
I didn't cancel that out. I just reevaluated and presented it differently. So it's not necessarily that I don't trust now. I do trust. I trust a lot of people, but I only trust them enough to be who they are. So understanding who people are and not who I want them to be is a big part of that.
That really is. Because that's something I have a problem with. I see who I want you to be, or who I see your potential to be.
Right.
And sometimes I can't see past that. And that's not a good thing.
Right. People are going to be who they are, and people have choices.
True.
Key thing is choices. And so even with survival techniques, people have choices, and they might trigger you or make you think back to wherever you were, but you have to stay very firm in who you are, who you develop to be. Because at the end of the day, if you're always going back to who you were, you no longer can maintain who you've grown to be.
That's true. And a lot of people have come so far in their lives through their survival techniques that they've made it this far.
Yeah.
And they forget that you're safe now.
Yeah.
You no longer need those survival techniques. You can change them, update them, lighten them up a little. Sometimes it's not that easy.
Yeah. And I'm a big advocate. I always tell people it's a flip of a switch before I go back to that person, because you don't forget how to do those things.
Right.
You don't forget them. You just choose. It's a choice not to use them. And so for me, if you mess with my children, you will get that person. You will get that aggression. You will full-fledged understand who I used to be.
Right.
But outside of my children, there are so many different things that I have in place now that you don't even get to that point, because I'll just remove myself from the situation before it gets to that point, because I know myself enough to say I'm better than who I was. I learned a lot, and so therefore I don't want to go back there. But there are a few things that are very, very, very sensitive that will resort back to me doing things that I chose not to do for a long time.
I just have to say this because it's in my head. I love how you just said that. I'm better than who I was.
Yes.
You see, because a lot of people used to be Billy Badass. Beat your ass if you even say something wrong. You understand? But
I'm not like that no more. And part of it is owning who you were and making that choice to be someone different or be a better version of you. Not necessarily someone different, because I'm the same person. But I choose to react and go about my life differently.
Right. And that growth says a lot. You know, there's too many young people today, oh, I'm better than you, you ain't on my level, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but even if they're not on your level, they're probably better than they were yesterday too.
And honestly, I think that level thing is just an illusion that we manifest as humans because we need something to compare ourselves to. But if you compare yourself to who you were 5 years ago, you leveled up how many times?
Yes.
Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the comments how many times you've leveled up in the last 5 years.
Okay, that is a good suggestion, because you know we all have those survival techniques that have helped us to level up. Okay? And it's not better than anybody else, it's just better than who we once were.
Right.
And that's the best way to be.
Right. And I think that's key.
Yeah.
That's key, is knowing your survival techniques, knowing when to use them, and knowing when to put them on the back burner.
Right. Because some people use, like I said, isolation, aggression for her. There's all these other different types of survival techniques. I know that some people are like workaholics.
Yes.
So they stay busy and focused. And that focus is what helps them to achieve everything.
Yeah.
And that discipline, oh my God.
That's not achievable by a lot of people.
Right. Because I'm having a very hard time struggling with the discipline aspect. In my 20s, I had plenty of discipline. Yeah. Today, I'm in so much daggone pain. I don't care what's what. I just do what I can when I can, Lord. Just do it.
And I think that's a big thing, too, is everyone's in a race. Some people are in a race with others. Some people are in a race by themselves. Some people just don't know what they're racing against or who they're racing against, but they're in a race. I feel like everyone is in a race, but doing what you can when you can is paramount.
Right.
Because you're not going to, change the world overnight, and you're not going to change your world overnight.
And you just might harm yourself.
Right. It's going to take series of little accomplishments to make this big grand gesture.
Yes. You see, I'm that tough cookie, that survival technique that says, I got this. I can handle everything myself.
Oh my goodness, the strong black woman syndrome.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. Totally.
We both are, but again, it presents differently in everybody.
It really does.
And the way we internalize it is different.
Yeah.
And so for some people, that's never asking for help, or only asking for help from certain people at certain times when the stars align.
And that's funny, because when you said that was me. I didn't want to ask for help, never wanted to ask for help, and now I've leveled up a little bit, and now I ask certain people when I know that I can. I have a hard time still, but I notice I said when I can.
So against popular opinion, everyone needs help.
Yes.
In different ways, on different levels, at different times. But everyone needs help.
That's true, because it's not always financial help.
Right.
We're talking mental help.
Emotional help.
Emotional, exactly. Because there are times when I'm overwhelmed emotionally. I will pick up that phone then. Because emotional overwhelming, it's just as bad as physical overwhelming. Okay? You've got to remember that. So, unburden yourself. Find your support.
That's key. Finding your support. Because not everyone is able to support you in every way.
That's true. And it's funny that you should say that, because I have one best friend that we pray together. I have another best friend that I can vent, scream, and cry. I got another best friend. She's more like my mother. Like, we're just, everybody has a different role in your life.
Yeah.
And when they say people are here for a season or
a reason.
Yes. I believe that now. I didn't before, but I believe it now.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very important to pay attention to who the people are that's in your circle.
Yeah.
Because that also helps your survival techniques. Because if they can help you stay on track, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And so for parents, sometimes you need that single best friend or single friend, single associate that will get you out of the parenting role.
Yes.
You go out, you have fun, and it's like, I miss these days, but I love my babies. I'm going back home.
Right?
You need that break because that's for you. But then you have your mommy friends that's like, I got another booger on my shoulder, or I got throw up hair, and you're like, girl, I relate. Let's wipe that off.
Don't forget the chocolate handprints on your pants.
Right. You need those interactions as well, because those are different types of survival techniques.
Right.
That's when you can call and be like, my child's not listening. They've had a bad week. I'm stressed. They're stressed. They're not doing good in school. And you can totally have that moment with that mother that understands.
Yes.
It's not all people without children, but some people without children. Well, why you didn't just do it? And they're like, that's not. You have no idea. That's not feasible.
Right.
Like, that's not real life stuff. Like, I can't. But other parents will be like, I know how it is. It's daunting, and especially if you're a single parent where you don't have somebody that have your back or play good cop, bad cop, but you really rely on your other parent friends. That's like, I get it. It's not what you're doing, but we could try this a little differently.
Yeah.
Because parenting, there's no guidebook for parenting, and as many times as people write books about parenting, that does not mean it's going to relate to your situation, your child, or your model.
Believe that, because every child is different.
Yep. Yep. Even my 2 children, I have 2 different ways of parenting because they're different. They're polar opposites.
That's right.
One child you can yell at till you're blue in the face, and then it's like,
that's all my 10-year-olds.
And then the other one, you raise your voice just a little bit, and it's just like, but I didn't even.
That's my oldest. You're funny.
And but you have to address them differently. And you could be saying the same things, but the presentation is different.
That's true. And it's funny because when I was raising my oldest in my 20s, I was seen as militant. Like, very strict. You did what I said, and there was no question. With my 10-year-old,
you'll say something, and then you think you won, and you're getting ready to walk on, and then he's like, what?
I think that's how I just said it all. That just
what? But what if?
Girl.
But you only said.
And the survival technique for that is to breathe. Just breathe. You gotta figure it out with your kids.
Right, and it's very different. Like when we had one child, things were different.
Very.
And I never understood when people were like, once you have more than one child, it's totally different. But I can understand now, after having more than one, how they say between having 2 or 3 and 10 is no different. Like it's the same. I can see that now. I can see that.
Listen, even if I was only in my 20s right now and I only had the two, I would never have another one because there's a chance I'd have another little boy. And those little boys are very difficult as far as I'm concerned. That survival technique to try and handle my son is like, I can't even give you a word, Lord. Single parent a son for me
it's really and this is when we really rely on our survival techniques, and the techniques that you had when you were a single parent of a daughter is very different than being a single parent of two children and or a boy.
Yes, and I'm sorry, for me, and just keep in mind it's just for me, and you can leave your comment, please, by all means. For me, boys are harder.
See, no. I think the other way. And
had your boy first.
Right, and that's
not
what
fair.
I was going to say. I think it's the birth order, too.
Because the second child syndrome is real. I got hit twice, y'all. I got a boy and I got second child syndrome.
Yeah. I think birth order plays a part because you go from this, you have a new slate. And you really don't have, like, yeah, you might be a bonus parent but having your own child, it's a new slate. And the way you go about raising that child and the things that you instill, you try and replicate, but times are different. Children are different.
Too much social media makes it even worse.
See, I don't think it's the same.
I do.
Because if you take away the screens, back in the day, they were out playing.
So put the boy outside.
Well, now these children don't like to go outside.
And that's a problem. They're not going to learn survival techniques. They're learning survival techniques and auto rifles and stuff like that. Get your butt outside. Pick up a twig. Make a slingshot. Do something.
The slingshot is not going to help you survive.
It just might have put an eye out. Not yours. Girl.
But yes, again, as parents, we definitely need survival techniques. Everybody needs survival techniques, and people have them. They just don't acknowledge them. They
come early though.
Yeah.
They come early in your life, and then as you get bigger, you learn new ones. Then they change.
Prime example is dating. There's so many people that learn survival techniques in the dating scene. So you meet somebody nowadays. You meet somebody on the internet. This is how it goes. You meet somebody on the internet, you go out, you get catfish. You know now, before you meet somebody, you want to catch them on the video chat. You want them to send you 12 pictures of them in different scenes.
Okay. Listen, back in the day, I used to tell people before I would even date them, I need to see your ID. And if I didn't like it, I needed to see too.
Age is a thing. People lie about their age a lot, especially in today's world.
So,
and young people look old sometimes.
Yes.
And old people look young sometimes.
I'm trying to.
And
your son will be dating somebody that is his grandmother's age, and you won't know it.
So that's one prime example that I feel like everyone could relate to is the dating survival techniques. For women, it's trying not to get kidnapped because you don't know these people, so you leave information with your friend or your cousin or your aunt, somebody.
Screenshotting people's license plates before you get in their car. You know,
you sending them the screenshot of the person that was online. The person you might meet might not be that person, though. That's the problem.
Definitely take pictures and screenshots, or what was that other when they're at the clubs and stuff, you gotta cover your drinks. You can't leave them around because people are slick. You done drop the pill in your thing, just handing it to you because it was right here in this damn finger. You don't let nobody put their hands over the top of the drinks. You know, there's
survival techniques.
Yeah, you gotta be mindful. You gotta look, pay attention.
But these are all types of survival techniques for different settings.
Way too many.
There are. But these are things we do without even thinking about them. These are things that once you know, you do better in. But there are times where you have to let your guard down. There are times where you no longer need those survival techniques. So maybe you're not dating anymore. Maybe you just have, an outing with your close friends. maybe you don't need that whole date, rape, drug thing to take apart, because you're out with people you know or your spouse knows, and you can let your guard down.
You know, and that's so funny because even like if we're together, even though you might know the people that are there, I probably still wouldn't put my guard down.
Yeah, that's your survival technique.
Yeah.
See, prime example. Because again, when you've been wronged, you have your techniques.
Yeah. It just happens that way.
Right. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It's just you gotta observe and understand when they're beneficial and when they're not.
Yeah. Because sometimes those survival techniques can actually harm a situation. Can make
or
it
prevent you from
Yeah.
Or block you from our opportunities.
That's true too. And I think I actually had an incident where my fear kicked in, and it probably wasn't even meant to be fearful, but because of my own trauma and my own issues, I saw a red flag, so I bolted.
Right.
I bolted. And it probably would have been a very beneficial encounter, but yeah, some of those survival techniques kick in and you just really can't stop them.
No, but over time, if you train yourself, you can prevent them from impeding your life when they don't need to be. Because you're going to be triggered for many different reasons, and it's not necessarily that there's an imminent risk.
And that's the thing. I was triggered because they resembled somebody.
Right.
And if they looked like them, it was like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, time to go.
Right. So instead of leaving, maybe take a break. Reassess.
Yeah.
If you're really in danger, then yes, still leave. But just take that moment to really assess why you're feeling this way. Go to the bathroom. Take a moment. And that's okay.
Right.
But just understand why you're having the reaction you're having. Because sometimes it's not about that situation or that thing.
Right.
That concludes our episode on survival techniques.
Yes. So don't forget, leave your comments, please, so that we can talk to you.
Yeah.
And subscribe.
Yes.
Comment.
Yes.
And share us. We want to talk to you. We want to get to know you guys. See what the heck else we want to talk about. You never know. You might have some good ideas out there. Or maybe something you're working on. You want us to help you get the word out? Feel free to talk to us. We just might be able to work something in there. DM her. She's got prices and stuff like that. If you want us to help you try your passion like we're trying ours.
Peace, love, and happiness. Toodles.